I've been sleeping late.
Where you been?
2 blocks away, sleeping.
Oh,
You just said you used the word hard. Not hard. Pick your words. No, you said
They let you. Taking my chances here.
and hard. You used the word hard. Is this a problem that that's what you use?
Oh?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
How are you? What's your name?
Yankee Cat.
Yankee Cats.
Michael from Shimon Friedman, you remember
Oh, yeah.
Similar?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Shimon is net
He's there now.
Yeah.
Sheps.
So nice to see you.
Yeah.
Send regards if you speak to him. Send regards. You know my name?
Yeah.
I love you. Don't stop.
Oh, Risha. You know, Risha said, I'm hungry. So you're in the Balditcher, right? The Balditcher. Risha, you're in the Balditcher, right? Huh? You get the Balditcher? Risha.
No. I'm the poly.
Okay, guys.
Dan heb je dit hingerik. Dan ga ik het helemaal zijn wezen te brengen.
Sorry, but I'm not here to ask,
At the time being,
Okay. So we're in the middle of Torah Chaf Hey, where the Rebbe keeps going through these Mamaras in the Gemara about from the Sabbath of Beituna and Rabbi Yeshua Hananya, where the elders of Athens had conversations with the Yeshua Hananya. These were the Chokrim, the philosophers, the thinkers, the biggest, the Aristotles of the world. And they and Rabbi Yeshua Hananya had these fascinating riddles back and forth. One of the riddles they had here, the one we're up to now, is where they asked him, bring us an item that's not worth its own weight in gold, so to say. That the value of the item itself is valueless. So he brought them a big carpet and said, bring it in there.
They couldn't bring it in.
They couldn't bring it in. So he said, okay, bring an axe and break the wall. And let's bring it in. They said, you can't do that. They said, okay, I brought you an item that's not worth itself. Because you cannot use it. That was the back and forth that happened there. The Rebbe right away jumps into it and says, let's understand this from another side, from Pneumistic side. And he says each person has to take himself out of the imaginative world, the Madama world, the chasing after the Taivas Libai, and break that through, and then he gets to something called the Seichel Anikna. And when he uses his Seichel Anikna and he looks into the Pnim of each thing, yeah, last night by the share over there, Rabbi Pinson started this new share on the Sefer Yetzirah last night. Very fascinating. But one of the things he said in the middle of the share was, the name that we use for Hashem, Elokim, is a very interesting name because it really means many. Like Elohim Acherim, when it's said B'lashon Chol, when the pasuk says many gods, right? So how do we use that same name as Elokim when it means many gods? When we always say Hashem Echad. The name Elokim, by definition, is a stira to that. It says, when we understand that everything starts with the one, may of the book, everything started with the one, from the one, HaKadosh Baruch Hu multiplied, Umisham Yipared, from the one there was a separation where there was everything became multiplicity, where there's a me, a you, and things. But we have to understand that it all comes from the one. So the name of the Kim is Hateva, which is nature, and realizing that the Elokim is the many, the multiplicity is the one. Hashem, Hu Elokim. Even though it seems like multiplicity, it seems like you, me, and the other, and it seems like separation, it seems like there's no connection to the one. We know Elokim, by definition, the many, each thing is God. That's the part of it. And that's what he's getting into this idea of looking into the seichel of each thing. You say, you got it? Right towards the beginning. That's when he goes into active intelligence. Right? We went through the whole thing. At some point, he's going to try to understand this concept that every single thing is godliness, and everything, and there's only so much that we could comprehend that on our level. But when he gets to that point of really, really looking into the thing itself, and he gets to some sort of comprehension of what this means, at that point, it returns Seichel HaNikna. That becomes your download. That's the information that you have in your brain, and that becomes Seichel HaNikna. There is Seichel in potential, V'Seichel HaPoyel, an active intelligence. V'Seichel HaNikna, and then there's acquired intelligence. There's the active intelligence is what I'm doing right now, where I'm driving a car, I need to know to go this way, that way. That's my active intelligence, what I'm doing. My potential intelligence is the entire, what we call the CIA. I can tap into anything. There's unlimited potential. Then, between what I did and what I actually learned and actually acquired, that stays with us. Like we say, when we're born, we start writing our script. Everything gets written on our piece of paper. We're born on a piece of paper. What color that piece of paper is depends on our parents and our grandparents and our DNA. But we have that nature, the nurture part of us that we don't have a choice in, which is who we is, who we were born to, what color paper. We could be from a very giving family. We could be from a very mad family. We could be from a very generous family. That's our DNA, and that's what we're born with. Some people have it more than others, and that comes generationally. That has nothing to do with us. But the day we're born, we start writing our paper and our script and our experiences. And in that is not just our actions, it's our thoughts and our feelings at that moment. And that gets engraved on our paper, and that's what means called Masach B'Sefer Nechtavim. And everything we do is written and is engraved. That becomes our experience, and that becomes our full memory. That full memory and everything we learned and everything we heard gets etched in there, and how we felt when we learned it. And when we're reading something and you're listening to a song and you're feeling something, that's all in the experience, and that's all the experience that's getting recorded. And by the time you die, that whole book that you wrote, that's your acquired intelligence. And that's what stays after you die. After you die, that intelligence, that memory, that fullness of self dies. During lifetime, we don't have access to it because we're busy with active intelligence. I have to drive a car now. I can't focus on my fullness of memory. When the brain starts dying is when all of a sudden you see Bobby Zaidi and you start remembering your childhood, because the brain, the active intelligence goes to sleep. And when the active intelligence starts dying, all of a sudden self has access to that whole paper that it started writing and all the feelings that came with it. And when people start dying, they start seeing their parents, and they start seeing the people from their childhood, because their brain is now working to stop that. So their active intelligence goes to sleep, and they're going into their acquired intelligence, and that's what stays with us forever. Our body is just a part of that as we go through the trip. And the Rebbe is going to go through this clearly. When we get to this point, where we reach it till a point where any human can really comprehend this, the kiyum of a person, the idea that he's going to stay on, the only thing that stays with us is this acquired intelligence, this intelligence that we wrote on this paper, that we learned, that we did, the experiences. That's what stays with us. And everything else, the idea of amana is, they told him, the word they used over here, imru le'achal mana de le'shav l'chabala, hainu mana de le'shav l'chabala. So the Rebbe is using this word mana as amana, and he's saying amana is something that's going to stay around forever. Yamin l'chad devarecha. Hiseichel hanikna, this acquired intelligence. Hukiyim shel adam lacher moisei. This is what stays with a person after he passes on. V'zeichel hanikna nikra masha adam yodea harba devarim b'yediyah achas. This idea is that a person knows many thoughts with one thought. He koydem tzarich liyeda harba hakdamas koydem sheyeda eze davar. When we really want to understand something, we want to explain something, we give many, many hakdamas. You start from the beginning, from the beginning. As far back to the beginning as we can go. As far back to the beginning as we can go, right? To build it up. So I explain it to you, one hakdam out there. But once you get to that point that I'm trying to explain, and you understand it, you're understanding one point with everything in it. All those hakdamas fit into this one point they're going to bring. So the more you understand, it goes along with so much more intelligence. So it's not that you're remembering all that. You're remembering the point, which includes the highest point that you can get to, which will include every hakdama before it that you needed to understand that point.
Cascades.
V'seichel hanikra nikra masha adam yodea harba devarim b'yediyah achas. Ki koydem tzarich leida harba hakdamas koydem sheyeda eze davar. Before that, you need to know many, many hakdamas before you understand that thought. V'achar kach shemagia es hadavar, kishemasag hadavar, when you grasp that thought, mashlach hakdama isav, you don't need to think about all the hakdamas. V'yedea es hadavar b'yediyah achas. You don't need to think about all the hakdamas, because those just led you up to this one point, and when you understand this one point, you don't need to focus on anything else, right? If you understand that $1 is worth 100 pennies, you don't need to understand everything else. You're looking at $1, you understand it has a worth. You don't have to counting the pennies in the $100. You know when you're looking at it that everything it includes. The same thing in any thought. Ve'ikar hamayan hachachma min hamikdash yatsa. The idea is that all of chachma, all the shefa, the mayan, the wellspring of chachma, this idea of the highest point of intelligence that has all hakdamas in it, the wellspring of that came from the Beis Hamikdash. Hisham hayu makrivim hakarbanos. There in the Beis Hamikdash, they were makriv karbanos shehem habahamiyas v'koyach hadimyon. He says, in order to us to reach this koyach, we need to be able to look at the seichel b'chol davar and to reach the highest level of consciousness within each thing. We need to first break the leiv ha'evan. In order to break the leiv ha'evan, that's the leiv habahamiyas, the animalistic tendencies. In the Beis Hamikdash, they were shechting karbanas. They were shechting animals. They were doing a physical act, but it was a visceral act of shechting the Bahamias in themselves. The Bahamas. They were actually doing a physical act, but it was the most visceral act of shechting the Bahamias in a person, that breaking that leiv ha'evan, and therefore, and breaking the fantasies, what he calls the koyach hadimyon, when you're chasing butterflies, when you're just chasing fantasies for nothing. And that's, that koyach hadimyon, which is the Bahamias of a person that's driving us to all these different dimyonis. The idea of a zevach alekim, of a carbon, is a ruach nishbara, a broken heart. What is this broken heart? This ruach nishbara, a broken spirit. No, the broken spirit is breaking the nefesh habahamias. Sheshviris hadimyon, this breaking the fantasies of the koyach hamadama heim hakarbanas. That is the karbanas that we can bring today, is that activity of deep inside, breaking that leiv ha'evan. That struggle that we have inside is breaking it. Again, the way we break a leiv ha'evan is not necessarily the way many people were taught. Meaning, it's not about so much break in Chassidus.
Not with the war of the Shamir.
We're going to get to it, by the way. Yeah.
What's the Litvish way? What's the Chassidish way?
The Litvish way,
Litvische.
the Litvish way is much more go down into, find your negative trait, go down, figure it out, work on it every day, deal with it every day, understand, break your midas, break your bad midas, break them, go in and be mishaber them. And somewhat what we're saying over here about this leva even, that we have to be mishaber the leva even, this sounds a little bit like that, where we're going in and we're... The light of Chassidus was, you could go down into there. The first thing the Chassidim, they said, is when you break a tava, or when you break a bad midah, you have two. You have, number one, you still have the bad midah. And now you have gaiva that you thought you got over it. So you know, breaking the midah, bad midah, now you have two. But in Chassidus, the idea was, we don't necessarily have to go down and deal with it so much. We're going to shine a flashlight on the top. And from here, we're going to live from a place of light. And by that, everything will fit itself into place. When you're living from a higher level of consciousness, I don't need to go down into my dark side. You know, there's Carl Jung, which talks about the shadow work and dealing with your shadow, whether it's your sexual shadow and this shadow and there's that. And he talks about integrating it into your life. That's going down and dealing with it and recognizing it. I'm going to acknowledge you and I'm going to this and I'm going to deal with you. Yes, we need to. But if we do take a step further back and we say, what's bringing on this? What was the step before this feeling I have now? Let's shine a light on this. Hashem, you're putting me in this situation. I understand you're with me in this situation. We're here together. In this entire situation, Hashem, I'm bringing you in. I'm saying a tefillah now. You're shining a light from the top. It's not, oh, how am I going to control myself now? I have to work on myself. No. Hashem, you're with me here. Selichtig do in my struggle, in my difficult time. And even if I fail, you're with me. Even if I fail, you're with me. You're with me on this level. Forget about me breaking myself. I need to break myself. I can never break myself. And if I did, I'm going to be a Balgava about trying to. This whole idea of that is, it's not a thing. So the way the Rebbe is saying it over here is, but by being makar of the karbanis, which means sacrificing, you know, we could easily, a lot of people, it's not easy to die al Kiddush Hashem. But it's not easy to live al Kiddush Hashem. This idea of living al Kiddush Hashem. Because living al Kiddush Hashem means I'm giving up, because you need to shech yourself. There is meaning, so although we're shining the light from up top, we have to remember there is
You can die, you can die and Kiddush Hashem only one time. Live, you can live every
well
second.
said, well said.
What you say?
Good Shabbos. Happy birthday.
I said that dying, you can die only one time for Hashem. Living, you can live every day for Hashem.
Very good, that's good. Sounds
Sounds
good. Became a new preacher.
ששביל סדמיין הן הקבונס, ובשביל זה אמר חכמינו זכרון לברכה, כשחרב בית המקדש בטל השומר. When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the shomer, what was the shomer? The shomer was the thing that was able to cut through stone. So the Ikar Chachma that was flowing from the Beis Hamikdash. Now that the Shecharev Beis Hamikdash, we were able to access it then, because we had the Shama. The Shama was able to break our Leva Evan. If you can break your Leva Evan, you can reach the highest levels of consciousness. So now that we have no Beis Hamikdash, we don't have the Shama. So it's not so much that the light isn't shining. The light could still be shining through the Beis Hamikdash. It's just that we have our Leva Evan, we don't have the Shama to accept those levels of consciousness. כשישחרר בית המקדש בטל השומר, וכשיבנה בית המקדש, אז יסקיים ומים מן המקדש יצא. When the Beis Hamikdash will be rebuilt, then the flow will reappear. Everything flows, everything flows from the Beis Hamikdash. Yeah, so my father always asks the question, he says, by chasanas, you break the glass. Right? Why? The second after you break the glass, Munafshech.
No animan.
Yeah. Say a moment of silence.
Please put your hand on your.
Before just
Please put your
started
hand.
now. What's the, play something. The second you break the glass, better enough. He says it's pink fakechtos. How does he say it? Pink fakechtos. He says no. He says the source of simcha comes from the Beis Hamikdash. We're going to a chasana now. We need to tap in to plug into the source of simcha. How do we plug into the source of simcha? By breaking a glass, by remembering and putting our consciousness by the Beis Hamikdash. We just plugged in simcha.
Your father gets lit.
This means
Yeah, that's the word. Im loyalis Yishalayim.
Gets lit.
What's the var?
Im loyalis Yishalayim al rosh simchasei. We're going to Yishalayim on the height of our simcha, because we're here to draw simcha
from
Yerushalayim. It's not the sadness. That's what I'm saying. The whole Mishkachech is misplaced. It's since they started singing
a happy
the
song instead of
100%. They said the Litvaks brought it in because they needed it, but in order to have simcha.
Doesn't penetrate otherwise.
But it's really misplaced.
Oh, here.
We're drawing energy. We're not drawing sadness. Go ahead,
Wow, you got
Hit
you
the
want
spot.
it.
Hit the spot.